Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Building IETs That Work, Views from Inside and Outside the Classroom, presented by Wendy Shader-Black and Mary Jo Shemaluski. Today's webinar is brought to you free of charge by our friends at Burlington English, and today we have Robert Breitbart, the Director of Educational Partnerships at Burlington English. He'd like to say a few words, and Robert, the floor is yours.
Hey, thank you everybody for joining in today. What an amazing topic, and thank you. We've got some phenomenal presenters with you. Thank you, James and Sharon Bonnie. Thank you, Dr. Finn and all of COABE. Do hope this message is greeting all of you and you're safe and healthy out there. And a big plug for our friends at COABE. If you're checking out some of the LinkedIn and different things they have going on, they've got big shout out to all of those involved with putting COABE, holding COABE together in these amazing times. They've got some great advocacy things going on. And so you'll want to please check that out. It's really a phenomenal time that we've got going on, a great opportunity to take adult education nationally to the next level. So thank you to Sharon, Dr. Finn, and everybody involved in that. And again, as far as, again, our presentation today, so wonderful that we're keeping focused on, more than just general English for our ESL learners particularly, as well as just standard academics for our HSE folks, but really the combination and including, job training in there. And particularly for our friends in the ESL world, we'd love to help you out in Burlington English. I think we do an amazing job just really bringing to every one of your teachers, whether they're full or part-time, bring all the resources that they need so that not just a few students, but every student can participate in things like you see on the screen here. Not just a few students, but all your students aware of a career pathway plan. Every one of your learners doing, as this image shows, meeting with a virtual career counselor, building a virtual portfolio of all of their work, participating in virtual job fairs. So if you can't bring them, to the job fair, bring the job fair to them. And definitely concepts, letting our learners know, again, as early as possible, building those better chances of retention because they know they're not just there for basics, but they really are with you to provide a plan. So whether it's concepts like career laddering, all of the job cards, identifying their future. And then again, so that particularly for our ESL learners, when they walk into the kind of programs that Mary Jo and Wendy will be talking about, they've already gone through screens like you see on your screen right now. So they know the kind of career specific vocabulary and dialogue. Again, they walk in a really great way for those IETs. And then lastly, they are ready to get that job because we've worked through all of the getting that job and keeping that job throughout their entire career. So again, regardless of what kind of device your learners are using to learn and your teachers to teach, particularly with smartphones, just know Burlington English has got you covered on all the devices. Well, with that, from all of us to my more than 40 colleagues all throughout Burlington English, really appreciate, enjoy this webinar. Back to you, James. Thank you so much.
Robert, I appreciate that. Your partnership is much appreciated. You bring so much energy to the field, and we're very grateful for everything that you do for COABE and the field in general. So thank you so much. Everybody, if you want to say hi to our presenters in the chat box there and you can ask any questions in the Q&A section. And with that, I will hand it over to Wendy and Mary Jo. Thanks so much.
Great. Just sharing my screen now. Was I successful?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, great. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, your time. Good morning, ours in Arizona. Thank you all so much for attending our presentations today, Building IETs That Work, Views from Inside and Outside the Classroom. This is the presentation that we shared at the COABE conference a little bit earlier this year. And we are really happy to have a chance to come back and share this again with a few updates and additions along the way. My name is Wendy Shader-Black, and I'm the Acting Director of Adult Education Services at Pima Community College in Tucson, Arizona. I've been involved in the design and development of our transition programs, including Bridge, IBEST, and early IBEST since around 2013. My co-presenter today is Mary Jo Shimoleski. She's the College and Career Transitions Manager. Mary Jo is a teacher's teacher. She's a veteran instructor, she's an instructional coach, a curriculum designer, and now she's a program manager. She also taught in our IBEST programs for the past several years and will share today her experience with one of those programs. So in the chat, if you haven't already, go ahead and let us know who you are, where you work, and what your role is with IETs in your program, so we can peek and see if who we've got in the house today. So the goal of today's session is to hopefully help you build out your toolkit of essential structural strategies and instructional strategies to support collaborative instruction. And in today's session, I'll share a bit about our own context here at Pima, our version of IBEST. I know IBEST looks different all over the country, and so we want to make clear what our model looks like. Mary Jo is then going to take a closer look at one of those IBEST programs as a sort of a case study to share some of the strategies that we've learned that contribute to successful IETs. I also want to mention that we use the term collaborative instruction here to broaden the scope of co-teaching. Sometimes when we think of co-teaching, you think of maybe two teachers in a room, maybe at the front of a class, working together to teach. And while that model might happen in an IBEST classroom, there's really a lot more to it than just that. It also encompasses co-planning and regular communication. It also involves thinking together about assessments and student progress. So as we go through the presentation today, go ahead and add your questions to the Q&A, and we have left some room, hopefully at the end, to respond to those questions, but anything we don't get to in this hour, we will definitely send out responses after the presentation. So just a few words about our context. I think many of you have probably already heard from us at one of these conferences that we've presented at in the past, and you might already know a little bit about Pima and Tucson, Arizona. We are right next to the Mexican border, about an hour to Phoenix. We're located in Pima County. It's a large area of about 1 million people. There's a very large need in Tucson for our services. Approximately 70,000 adults, 16 to 64, don't have a high school diploma in our own county. Many of these are unemployed, so the population is not only lacking employment, but also the basic skills needed for gainful employment. Our adult ed division serves in a typical year over about 5,000 students, so we're very large, and we offer a variety of programs and classes, including adult basic and secondary education, English as a second language, which we call English Language Acquisition for Adults, or ELA. So if we hear the term ELA, that's what we're talking about. Mary Jo and I have been working for years together in bridge and transition services and also in IETs. So we are part of a very large college as well. So it's multi-campus. It serves over, on a normal year, maybe 40,000 students a year. And it's been operating for 51 years, offering credit coursework, leading to certificates and associate's degrees. We have a number of career technical training certificates, and that's what we use to partner with in our IBEST programs. So we developed our first IET program in 2014, and we began doing our IET models using IBEST from Washington State. And we've been learning about that model and rebuilding and revising and adapting ever since we started. We have definitely learned that IETs are great for our students. At the same time, we've also learned they're very hard to build, they are hard to implement, and they're hard to sustain. But it's definitely worth it with the kinds of outcomes that we see from our students. So we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about our model and what we've learned are those keys to success. So the overarching goals of all of our IETs, whether IBEST or early IBEST, and again, today we're focusing on IBEST, that all of our goals remain the same. These are motivational goals for me. I've seen students achieve all of these goals, all of them, within a single IET program, and watch that experience transform lives. These goals are to improve basic skills, so reading, writing, math, English language, digital literacy, complete career training program that's in our college, to earn industry recognized training or credentials if they're available, to get their GED or get their high school equivalency diploma if they need one, and to hopefully gain employment or continue their studies. As I said earlier, our model of IET that we're sharing about today is the IBEST model. But again, they look different everywhere you go. I think all of you out there, many of you are doing IBEST too, and if you're like us, you found that IBEST might look different just from one cohort of students to the next. But there are some essential pieces that we keep in all of our IBEST programs. I think ours will always involve team teaching that can look different from class to class. We also have learned the importance of having a case management approach, a wraparound supports for our students. I feel like that has become as essential to our students' success as the co-teaching. We also use cohort models, so all of our students start and finish together. We mix our groups. Some students have diplomas but need basic skills, and other students don't have diplomas and need basic skills. We also build into our model additional instructional time for contextualized basic skills. So just a few things about our model, a little bit more. The 6 models we've developed since 2014 are on the left. The ones that we are currently operating are the 3 on the right, the medical assistant, the logistics, and automated industrial technology. And those are 3 that we are working with right now. All of our programs have a different capacity, different length, different opportunities, but they all have a few key things. Like I mentioned before, actually I don't know if I mentioned it before yet, but these are for higher level students. The students that enter our programs need to be within a range of likely to pass the GED test sometime during that year of training, right? So we know how difficult it is for a student to have completed a college certificate successfully, but also to then have the GED still in front of them. So we want to make sure that our students are really close enough to passing that test when they start the program that we're setting them up for success. Another essential is we pair our adult ed and our career technical education instructors. One difference with our program, something we've learned along the way, is that all of our IBEST use 2 adult ed instructors for any given IBEST program. Mary Jo is going to talk a little bit about that later. Like I said, we blend our GED and non-GED students. All of our students are benefiting from basic skills instruction, all of them. Our programs are almost always a year long. The coursework may take less or may take more, but we want to build models that are about a year. That seems to be the sweet spot for students that need to also pass that GED test and succeed in their college program. A year is about the length of time we've found that needs. If it's too short, we're going to see students succeed in their college program, but not necessarily pass the GED. And again, that's something we don't want to happen. If it's too long, we might see losing students along the way. So we've kind of hunkered down in that year length. We also partner with our college certificate programs, and most of those have IRCs or industry recognized credentials built in. Mary Jo will also touch on that a little bit as we go forward. All of our IBEST programs need to be ATB eligible. Ability to benefit is financial aid that's available for students without a diploma, but who are studying on a career pathways program in our college. We are super excited about ATB, and most of our students enter our program. They co-enroll with One Stop to join our IBEST programs, so we have a very strong relationship with One Stop. And what we usually see happens is that those first 6 credits, a student might use training dollars from their One Stop enrollment to fund their first 6 credits of an IBEST. And then after they hit that 6 credit mark, we can transition them over to use ability to benefit. So we're seeing a lot of success with that as well. It's taken some time for our college and for this partnership to get on board and to understand what ability to benefit is. But we really feel like we're going strong with that now with our college, and they've been really super supportive of our students accessing ability to benefit. Another thing about One Stop is they are absolutely key to the student's success. They provide so many resources, from funding for the tuition, but also if they need boots, if they need bus passes, if they need connections to community resources. one-stop, our partnership with them, our strong partnership is just at the core, I think, of our success. So this gives you an idea of where we operate, of who we serve, and of what our model looks like in a nutshell. Mary Jo is going to jump in here, and she's going to take us a little bit deeper into one particular IET program. She will draw out some of the lessons that we've learned and strategies that have led to our program and some student success. Mary Jo?
Okay, thank you. So the program that we are going to highlight today is our IBEST that we partnered with AIT, as I will refer to Automated Industrial Technologies. And what is it, and why did we decide to use it? Well, the efficiency of machines has basically replaced humans in the manufacturing world. So all but one area. The students that we train in AIT end up being technicians. And as a technician, they will be eligible to monitor production equipment, oversee performance of machines, and repair these machines. So during that one-year course, our students study robotics, mechanical, hydraulic, pneumatic, electrical systems, and electrical devices. So it's a pretty heavy course load. They take 16 credits, and at the very end, and they are credit-bearing classes, and at the very end, they end up with a level 1 certificate. Thank you, Wendy. We should have, I think we, did you skip a page? There we go. So before we get started with any IBEST, we have something called an on-ramp, and it's normally typically 2 weeks before the classes start. And this gives the chance for students to see themselves as college students before the classes start. So we build community during that time. As you can see, we take a tour of the classes, and we have the faculty speak to them so that they can kind of get used to the environment. They look for things on the college campus that reassure them that, yep, I'm to be here and I'm comfortable, such as, where do I get something to eat? Where do I park my car? It all helps with them seeing themselves as college students. We also complete all the funding requirements for the paperwork, such as paperwork for our one-stop partners. They take a GED practice test. We do a lot of community building during that time so that they start feeling like a cohesive group as well. It's super important. And here is just one quote from one of our students. It was great for helping us get accustomed to being college students, and I got back in the habit of coming to school. Many of our students have been out of school for a while, and this is kind of a slow acclimation as to what it's like to be in the college and also to be a part of a program that there's a cohort. During the on-ramp, we have something this is what the picture is showing, called an interview panel. So the interview panel consisted this past year of a faculty member, a woman who owned a manufacturing firm, and a former student. The students in the cohort then are able to ask questions. We have kind of fielded the questions beforehand, but then it's another way for them to see what are they getting themselves into, especially AIT. To be in automated industrial technology, like what is that and what is it all about? There's a lot of questions around it. It's kind of an ambiguous phrase. And this, when we talk to the faculty, somebody from the business, and also a former student, it helps kind of make things a little bit more solid as they move forward. They know what they're getting themselves into. The other thing too is that the 2 adult ed instructors are the ones that run the on-ramp. We visit with the faculty, but the faculty doesn't have a major role in it. So that they see the 2 adult ed instructors as a team. It's a chance for us to become more unified, like myself with the other adult ed instructor, as well as the students see us as a team. And they know that we've got their backs and that we'll be working together throughout for the next year. Thank you. All right, it's time to meet our AIT students. So we've had 2 cohorts, as Wendy explained. We had one a year ago, and then we have the one that's current. The one that's current right now, you'll see some pictures and some stories about them, but all of the data that we're going to be giving you is from our first cohort, since we haven't finished this one. So our AIT students, there was 12 of them in this particular group. Half of them were credit-bearing side students, and half of them were needing an HSE or GED. As you can or maybe cannot see in here, we had 1 woman in this cohort, and this year I'm proud to say that we have 4 women. So we'd like to see that. It's definitely an industry that is open to women joining the field. All right, so when we are making up our schedule as to what happens on what day. So like Wendy was pointing out, the basic skill instruction is super important in the IBEST. So we call it integrated skills. And we build in about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes every day that we meet for integrated skills time. And that time can be anything from looking at a textbook and figuring out how to read a textbook, how to study for a quiz, how to prepare for a final. And you'll see in a couple of slides moving forward, there's a little video too about just giving students more practice. And especially in this field, which is super hands-on, they need more practice than just that 10 to 11:40 spots many times. So on these particular days, the integrated skills happen early in the morning from 8:30 to 9:45, and it is part of the student's morning. They cannot opt out of it. After we meet, we take a small break and we walk over to the building where the lab is being held, as well as the classroom. During that time from 10 to 11:40 every day, it is co-taught by the faculty member and the adult instructor. And so what does that look like? You'll be able to see in a video, but I can kind of just point it out a little bit. Sometimes it's, I'll jump in the front of the room and say, like, is this something that the students should know or we should be writing down? Or I might write some things on the board that I feel are really important. And so it depends on the faculty member what your role is, if it's completely co-teaching or if it's sometimes where you're jumping in and jumping out. But your ears are always open, listening to the faculty member and also the needs of the student. Okay. Teaching teams. So the adult ed and the faculty, this can take on so many different forms. I'm not even sure how many different faculty members I've worked with, but each time it looks different. So I wish I could give you a recipe to success, but it is that give and take, just like with any relationship. With this particular faculty member that's up there, he was very easy to work with, and we could jump in and out of our roles, and he would stop and even say, like, Mary Jo, is there something that you want to add at this point? Do you have any questions? And so then I would kind of turn to the students, because the students many times are more comfortable asking questions of me than they are the faculty member. And so it really depends on the faculty. Sometimes they're not as willing to team teach, and that's okay too. We try and get there, but what our goal is to be as collaborative as possible. And I'm sorry. Okay. That's okay. I might go back to it. I think I had something for the slide before, but it's okay. So the role of the adult ed instructor, what we do is we teach that just-in-time instruction. So as I said, if something happened in the lecture the day before that I know is confusing or they need more practice, we jump in the next day and we fill that hole. Or if it's, many times a faculty member will say that we're going to have a midterm in 3 weeks, but they don't really say anything about the midterm until right before. We might start preparing for that midterm 3 weeks ahead of time with like little mini steps. We also prepare the students for the GED or the HSE. We don't necessarily look at like GED prep books. What happens is the content within the classes prepares the students for their GED or their HSE. We don't need to do like, okay, this is like GED time. Not at all. There's enough math, there's enough reading, there's enough writing that they end up doing very well on the GED test. but we want to make sure that they get that. We also make sure that our students, oops, sorry. We also need to make sure that our students don't fall through the cracks. So just like with any group, there's students that are going to be much more outgoing, and some students that if they stop coming, we reach out to them right away. Hey, what's going on? I'm a caretaker, I lost my transportation. There's lots of different reasons. And many times we work with them to invite them to come back to class then too. And the other big piece is we're like their cheerleaders. We keep a really positive environment because this is really hard. This is a huge first step, and it's a hard program, and we want to see them through it. Okay. All right, you'll see a video of what the additional adult ed instructor time looks like. Oops.
The additional teachers has been invaluable because we have, so if there's like math stuff I don't remember how to do specifically, we have math teachers here, we have English teachers that will help you like structuring certain things, and the math for things I don't remember how to do, they'll go over it a lot and in depth and really give you a good foundation for the stuff that we will be doing.
The additional teachers have been great whenever I need like extra time. If we go over something in class and I don't get it the first time, then I can go over it with like Mary Jo or Lisa, and they help me a lot. Math isn't really my strong suit, but we've taken it like step by step, so they've been able to help me. And as long as I stay caught up and I don't fall behind, then it's good.
All right, thank you. So that was 2 students from our first cohort speaking about the additional adult ed instructors. And as you can see, they kind of look at us like the math teachers and the English teachers. And we also, that's a good point that the second student, Jason, brought out, is that if we might start a class during that integrated skills time and say, let's review what happened yesterday. And then you can do a formative really quick, like right then and there, to find out what did they understand and what are they still needing some more practice with. Okay, creating a safe, positive environment. So the very first thing that I can recommend any IBEST, and this would be like, yes, absolutely do this, is use a text app for communication. We use Remind. And Remind, I can send something out to all of the students, reminding about their classes or anything that might have changed. And it's a way for them to communicate, the students to communicate back with you. We find that they're much more receptive to responding to a text than they are an email or using the phone. We also seek out opportunities for our students to become leaders. In this particular picture here, the photo, it shows some of our students giving tours to other adult ed students, inviting them to the college and talking to them about IBEST. So any opportunities that we could find. Sometimes we send students to conferences or workshops. They joined different offerings that were happening at the college, different clubs. There was an AIT club, and almost every single student joined that club. Encouraging peer-to-peer support. Most of the time in these cohorts, the students form their own study groups. You don't have to really say a thing, and that's where I think the on-ramp really helps, is because it forms that community, and they know we're in this together and we've got to study, and when are you free, because we'll study together. Having drop-in hours. So as you could see from our schedule, the day ended at 11:40 every day. And from 11:40 to about 12:15, 12:30, we had drop-in office hours. So we were available in our office area for students to come by if they had questions, if they needed a little more review, if they wanted us to see something that they were doing as far as an assignment. That's, and we found that to be really super helpful. Celebrating milestones. That, if somebody had a birthday, somebody passed one of their GED tests, somebody had a baby, somebody finished, or they all finished their first semester of college, we used any opportunity we could to celebrate. And again, that just formed the cohesion with our group. It was awesome. Okay.
I've also enjoyed having the same classmates for a whole year because we all get along very well and we all help each other out. Like if there's a problem, it's kind of intimidating for me to ask Juan sometimes, but then if I ask just Fawn or like Sean, it's a lot easier.
it's nice having a cohort who goes together. It allows you to build up as a team. Juan was describing other classes, none here, where it's more of a competition between the students, and that's not why we're here. We're all here to learn and build ourselves. And being together allows us to foster that sort of group identity and a sense of togetherness.
It's always so awesome to see those videos, because the last two students that just spoke, they have come such a long way. It really does give them that leadership ability, and also knowing that they're working together, I think strengthens the idea that we're all learning at the same time, including the adult ed instructors and the faculty, that it is one big cohesive group of learners. Okay, one of the key pieces for every IBEST is having 2 adult ed instructors. When IBEST was first started, we had 1 adult ed instructor for every IBEST, and we found that to be just too much. So having the 2 adult ed instructors increases the integration, so consistency in the program. I could talk to, my partner's name was Lisa, I could talk to Lisa. We were very consistent in our approach. We worked with different faculty, but we would come together for the good of the program, the class that they were in, as well as the students. It's just too much when you're building partnerships as well for 1 adult ed instructor to handle. It strengthens the role. I think the students, if it would just be 1 person, I'm not sure if it would look as like a united group, if it's just you and the students. When it's 2 people, it really does look more like a group and much more supportive. It also, we have shared learning outcomes. So it's a cohort, so we share the same students. So we could get together and say like, hey, I'm a little bit worried so-and-so didn't come to class. And maybe the other adult ed instructor says, oh, they had a doctor's appointment, or yeah, they're running into some problems here. Let's put our heads together what we can do. And all the IBEST instructors also are involved in a PLC, a professional learning community that meets once a month to go over ideas and again, support each other, because this is a unique way of teaching. And so the more support that we can give each other, the better. Okay. All right, but there's more than just the 2 adult ed instructors in our team. So we have Stephanie, our program advisor, and she is really super important to any IBEST class. She helps out with enrollment, the jobs, financial issues. She is our go-to many times with One Stop, our partner. She attends the classes on a regular basis. The students know her very well. She also attends the meetings. We have a meeting, and I think it's in another slide or 2, once a week with our faculty partners. We go over anything about the students' upcoming content, but Stephanie has a really defined role in those meetings. She is there to make sure that all the paperwork is caught up, the students are doing well, do we need any more support services? So it's really imperative that Stephanie attend. Brittany and Maritza are student services, and they also are a really important part to our group, and they do the financial aid stuff and any sort of transcripts, GED vouchers, attendance, data entry, anything that takes up a lot of time. Maritza and Brittany are there, and they're also part of a team. We also meet once a week with them just to make sure that everything is caught up. Okay.
Stephanie has been an invaluable resource. I have gone to Stephanie with a lot of different things over the year. I've had a lot of shortcomings this year, like getting kicked out of my house, and Stephanie has been very resourceful in the things that she has given me for help for stuff like that. But also just with the registering for school and keeping financial aid in order and stuff like that, it's very, very useful. It's normally you would have to think about that kind of stuff on your own, and having her there to help you with every step of that is great.
Okay, so you can see the importance even from the students' perspective. They look at Stephanie and lean on her a lot. So I talked a little bit about this before with our meetings that we have. So the instructional focus really integrates the adult ed instructor, the faculty, and the program advisor. We meet, we plan, we look at content, we talk about students, we get testing dates, when's the midterm, when is there an assignment due, what will the final look like. Many times, if it's a faculty member that's very collaborative, we actually collaborate on planning some of those assignments and looking at the midterms together and the final. Site visits. So sometimes we go out on site visits to be able to look, especially in the AIT world. Again, it's really hard to explain what it is, but if we can go and see it, it becomes a lot more clear to the students. So we've done that, and we've also had companies come in and do visits, such as Roche Tissue Diagnostics. They work closely with our college and our program. Let's see, we've got Boeing and Raytheon. It's those three companies that come in. They'll talk about, do we have any internships? What about available jobs in the future? And just talk about their company themselves. So as the students finish either level 1 or go on to level 2, they know where the companies are in Tucson that would be available for possible employment. Preparation for our employment fairs. This year it's a little bit unique. I think, Robert, you were talking about a virtual employment fair, and we're going to be doing the same thing. So we are trying to figure out, by using Zoom and breakout rooms, having the employers in a breakout room and having our students come prepared with a resume, cover letters, and also they need to know information about the companies themselves, and of course all those soft skills about how to conduct an interview, how do you ask questions, what should you look, dress like for even a virtual employment fair. So we're trying that out this year. So preparing students and yes, reviewing content. All right, thank you. Oops. All right, Juan is one of our students, and he could be any one of your students, because I know that there is a Juan in every single program. He needs a GED. He's motivated, but super distractible. Has some food insecurity, ADR, or access to disability and resources accommodations. And I didn't speak about that, but we have ADR come in during the on-ramp and talk, because many of our students qualified for some type of resources or accommodations. And so he had anxiety, depression, ADHD. He became homeless within the first 4 weeks of class. So at that point, our wraparound approach, which we call our wraparound approach with Stephanie, with the adult ed instructors, with the faculty, with our student services, we all put our heads together to try and figure out, where do we go from here? Okay. So what happened to him? As a team, we had this meeting and we identified the community resources that were out there in the Tucson area for Juan. We reached out to One Stop, as Juan is a youth and he could start an internship. One Stop, they set up the internship and gave him clothing and shoes for his job. JobPath is another partnership that we have here in Tucson, and they gave him a refillable bus card so transportation wouldn't be an issue, and he started an internship. Update, as of like today, Juan he's still in the program, and what a, I guess, complicated world we started in March. And so the classes, because we have lab classes that have to be face-to-face, and then we had some virtual classes. So getting to the classes and could they attend everything that they needed to in the order was a lot more complicated this year than in the years past. But he's still in the program. He's still targeted to finish up his CERT level 1 in December, and he's finishing up his internship. All right, so this kind of segues, there's going to be a little video, and what does this all look like? Because for me, I need to see it. So students, they're in the classroom with the faculty member right now. So we kind of started at that point. He was giving a PowerPoint about measurement tools. And so the chat box just distracted me just a moment. But there's a faculty member in the front, and I was on the side taking a picture, but normally I was up in the front as well. Okay, go to the next slide. And the PowerPoints are they're very lecture based. So the students take notes and they look at the lecture. Then the faculty member takes them out to the lab and shows them how to measure using the tools. And that's the picture on the left. The picture on the right is actually during that integrated skills time. So the next day, I knew that they needed more practice with measuring tools. And these are steel rulers. So I borrowed some steel rulers from the AIT because I could see that they had difficulty with the increments. And so we went over just a little bit about how to read them and offered more practice during the integrated skills time. Okay. So this is a video that points out.
Also, is with
Go ahead. You can just go ahead and show it.
with the other classes that I take as mechatronics classes, I feel like that the teachers all work together in that too. That I don't know. There's a lot. If I don't feel alone, that's for sure. I feel like if I ever needed help, there's lots of avenues I could find people to help me at.
And then once I seen what the Automated Industrial Technology was, I had recently worked on like cars, and I was my grandfather's an electrician, so this like really clicked with me, you know, like it was like it's for me. But that's what initially brought me was my GED. There's many resources. There's, you know, like Job Path, where you can get funded, and then I know you can get a laptop. And with One Stop is an amazing support group. They help you out with like my book, my tuition. It's just an amazing, you know. It's just all you need to do is put in your work. So I feel like, you know what I mean, you have a big group around you. You can have a family around you, and especially the students too. Especially the students is cool because, like, everybody around you is on the same path. So it's like you guys can get there together, you know. So when we're all like a team, I feel it's really, I feel really strong.
Good.
No, it was like 11.
Yeah.
7 to 8 inch.
Measuring some of this.
So we're all measuring 1, 2, 3 to see if we all get about the same answers before we right.
Based on how you use your whatever ruler or whatever.
Yeah, what did you find to be most accurate?
I'd say the metal ruler.
Okay.
And then he's imagining what kind of product, which size, which materials and design and everything he intended to have to buy as a final product. Simulating the situation as, hey, we're situation. And so, hey, I saw you didn't put details about that process. Do you want it in your request or not? Okay. Difference between your original sketch and the real furniture you need to manufacture. Mm-hmm. But I didn't see this in your.
But if you're going to put technical information on paper, what might that look like? Give me one idea. Do you have an idea?
Maybe like the first piece you need to start building the table would be.
What you need to build a table, Rocio?
Precise measurements.
Precise measurements.
Organized list of materials.
An organized list of materials?
Like
You
steps to like process it and like proceed to build it.
Steps to process
That's what I was
saying.
Anything else, Milton?
Okay, this is the next step. Okay, our phase now.
Okay, so I'm just going to go back to that video. So that really was, took place over a couple of days, but I thought I would just give you a snapshot of what does it look like in the integrated skills time? What does it look like when you're co-teaching with a faculty member? And then when you're actually putting it into practice in the lab. So that's just one picture. not every day looks like this, but I think it kind of gives you a start to finish of what it could look like. So how do we know what to teach and how does it integrate with the content classes? So we always look at the adult ed basic education standards. And what we do is we look at these standards and we see how can we integrate them into the learning outcomes that are set at the content, the credit side. So I just put together one idea of what this might look like. So one of the things in the electrical systems class the students needed to do was define Ohm's law and know how to use it. So know how to use the formula and how to manipulate it. And so teaching voltage is equal to current times resistance, that wasn't too bad. But what if you had the voltage, but you didn't have the resistance? So now you're looking at relationships, and now you're looking at algebra. And so I was able to take this outcome, plop it into the adult basic ed standards, especially we've got 2 of them from math there that it fits in really nice, come up with an assignment that meets the goal of the standard as well as the content, the learning outcome, and also come up with some formative assessments or even some summative assessments if it would be something that I would create with the faculty member. Okay. So the role of the adult ed instructor and the role of the content faculty, it should always be balanced like this, right? But we know in life, no relationship is ever 50-50. So I think as an instructor, to know that ahead of time was super helpful, to know that sometimes I'm going to be giving 70% and the content faculty might be giving 30% with the collaboration. And there are sometimes that might flip the other way as well. And so it depends on the faculty member and it depends on even what you're doing. So flexibility and really having a good sense of humor is like, it's a must for when you're working in an IBEST classroom. Okay. And now I'll turn it back over to Wendy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mary Jo. I just wanted to comment here. I'm having a hard time seeing the chat while I'm doing the screen sharing. So I don't know, James, if you wanted to give me a tip on that. I want to be able to respond to the chat while we have you here. But I also want to let you all know that whatever questions you're putting into chat, we will definitely be pulling those questions together and sharing out the responses to everybody here. So if you haven't seen any quick responses yet, that's why. But just a really quick note on the accomplishments of this particular cohort. I want to leave a few minutes for Q&A. So I'm just going to touch on this. The cohort was 14 when we started, but you know, it shifted pretty quickly to about a core group of about 11 students. And so that made it through the year. Out of that 11, only one didn't finish, but he's actually just finishing up his final class right now. So he is going to finish. In fact, he might be finished by now. So we had a really great completion rate there. We had a bunch of students on internships. One of them, who you saw in the videos, was actually hired by our college to be a tutor to other students coming into AIT. Of the core group that finished out, I think 5 of them needed to get their high school equivalency diplomas, and 4 of them did. One student has, I think, only 1 test left that we're still working with him to try to help pass. But we've seen a lot of successes there. Together, all of these students racked up about 76 industry recognized credentials. This particular program has a lot of these credentials embedded into the curriculum. So that was really great for these students. But the thing I want to highlight here is that the students are also engaged in employment readiness work in the class. So Mary Jo and the teachers worked with the students to develop these employment portfolios, which included resumes, cover letters, readiness for job interviews, practice for job interviews. But what's really great is that they also, through this process, recognize the value of their own credentials that they've been earning. And they have updated resumes and they know how to talk about those credentials. And so that employment readiness piece is a really essential piece as well for all of our IBEST programs, to make sure that students aren't just getting the technical content, but they're also really preparing for employment which is often a very, it's a big challenge for actually any of us, for all of us to be ready to find a job, to get the job, and to keep the job. So there's a lot of good work that goes on in our programs with that. I think, just take a quick minute. I think this is about a minute long, with just a couple of those students talking about what they thought were some of their greatest achievements.
I've been inducted to the NAESH, the Honor Society. I finished my GED. I have multiple certificates for STARET and NIMS and stuff like that. And I've gotten a lot of things. My employability folder is getting overwhelmed with certificates. I am the AIT mechatronics tutor, the only one as of right now. I work 4 days a week for that and Saturdays, so I tutor 3 different classes, I believe. I'm embedded tutor, so I'm actually in the classroom while the teacher is teaching, so I know exactly where they're at and what they need, and can tell if people aren't doing their work.
I'm just proud of the fact that I gave it all of my energy and I fully committed. I had really good attendance and got straight A's and stuff, so. And I got an internship at Ballistic Fabrication, which is a machining manufacturing plant. I've been doing like a little bit of CNC programming and learned like tons of new tools, so.
All right. So just to wrap up, these are just some highlights of things that we've talked about today that are really important for some of the successes that we've really seen. We're gonna share out these slides with everybody so we can go back and refer to these. But I'm gonna jump ahead and take our last 5 minutes and hopefully open it up to some questions.
Do you want me to read some of the questions? Because I think some of them could be answered fairly quickly, right? And so what does ATB eligible mean?
Yeah, ATB eligible. So for those of you who don't know, Ability to Benefit is a provision in financial aid that allows students who are enrolled on a career pathway program to access federal financial aid, even if they don't have a high school equivalency diploma or a high school diploma yet. So to be eligible for Ability to Benefit, you must be enrolled in a career pathways program. And those programs, that was part of the work that we had to do with our college, was to document and make the case for how this IBEST program is a career pathways program. And so we submitted all of that material to our financial aid department. We met with them, we shared that information. And right now, the only technically recognized career pathways program at our college are our IBEST programs. So that's one piece of the eligibility. They have to be enrolled in that. Another piece is that to access Ability to Benefit, they need to have either 6 credits or get certain scores on placement tests. And so what happens is many of our students come in and don't necessarily hit those scores on the placement tests, like AccuPlacer, which is what we use. They don't hit those scores right away. That's why we make sure that they have one stop, that they are co-enrolled with one stop, so the training dollars can come in that way first, allow the students to get their 6 credits, and once they hit 6 credits, they no longer need to pass to get a certain score on that assessment test. They're eligible. So I hope that answers your question, that those are a few components of ATB eligibility.
I think the next question I think that I would like to address would be, do you have any processes for testing interviews, place for determining students' readiness, for example, testing and interviews? So what we do is, it depends on the program, the eligibility. So they take an AccuPlacer, which is our test that we use at the college, and sometimes there's scores that they need to get in either reading, writing, or math. The AIT, the Automated Industrial Technology, did not have any scores like that, but they still needed to take the TABE tests for adult ed. So we did get some scores from our students taking the tape test. Then we also put them through like an interview. We came up with a list of questions, and oh, in Wisconsin, I just see Wisconsin down in the chat box. I'm from Wisconsin, so anyways, we interview them. So if it's a student from my adult ed class, I'm not going to do the interview. I want someone else to. So maybe Stephanie or Lisa or somebody from student services might conduct an interview then with a student to find out, why are they interested in IBEST? What factors do they have that makes them think that they could be successful in this program? What limitations do they have? Where do they see themselves in a year or two? So we do have a list of questions that we ask them. So we're pretty sure that the students are ready to go. So that one was an easy one. There was one that was fairly complicated. Are there any content guides, examples that show how those CTE and basic skills correlate? They break down throughout the entire course curriculum. And that is something, that's the magic that the adult education instructors, we do that. So we look at the content, we look at the standards from adult ed, and we blend them together. And yes, it takes a lot of work. I must say that Lisa, my other adult ed instructor that I worked with, her and I met, I would say, at least an hour and a half a week to do exactly that and to do a good job. Industry recognized credentials, where could we find a list? That's interesting. We're always looking for different industry recognized credentials, right? The ones that they received through the AIT or Automated Industrial Technology, they all received an OSHA 10, and they all went through what was called STARRET, and those are measuring tools. And so every time they passed the test there, they got a certificate. And then there's something, and it's a nationwide exam, is called NIMS. So maybe we have time for like one more like fast one. Yeah, otherwise, if we don't answer them, we can respond back, right? Or did you want to wrap it up?
I'd be happy to answer one more question about the cohort size if we have a quick second.
Yeah, we have a minute. Go ahead.
We're about out of time.
And Wendy, could you also throw in there our ELA students too? Because there were some questions about ELA students in the IBEST. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Let me just take a minute about our students. One of the questions was about having 11 students, and is that a standard cohort size? Do we worry about our college not feeling we're serving enough? Yeah, our cohort sizes really vary. In our medical assistant cohort, we have 30. You know, when we recruit, often we hit close to 20, which is a really nice sweet spot. But then sometimes the student numbers drop off. Because it was our first foray into AIT, we felt okay about starting out with 14. I think also they have limitations with their size because of lab space. So it really depends. You know, in logistics, I think we recruited 20 the first time. So it's really different and it varies quite a bit, but it's something we do have to pay attention to. If we have a too small of a cohort size, then we can't really invest, you know, in an IBEST model if we only start with 6 students. It's not going to probably work. The other question about Ella, I'm not sure what the question was, but I can say that the very first IBEST model we ever did was for Ella students only, and that was in hotel restaurant management, and that was great. It was a great model for language learners, truly. But what we've learned along the way is that we fold in language learners as just having basic skills needs like all the other students. Theirs happen to be in English language. But what we find is with that integrated skills time, we are really able to work with those students to help them through some of their language challenges, just like we work with students who are struggling a little bit more with math or some of their writing skills. So we pull all of these students in together, and we use the resources of other students in the class to also help the students that have particular needs. Right now, we have multiple students who do not speak English as their primary language. So it's a really inclusive model that, because we serve students really holistically and we have this additional time, seems to be really effective. Right?
And some students continue with their English classes on the adult ed side while they're going through the IBEST model. So
that's right.
All right, so I think those are all the quick ones that we can answer. The rest of them, we will just get back to you.
We will. So James?
Yeah, Wendy, Mary Jo, thank you so much. That was a great presentation. It sounds like you guys are really doing great work in Arizona. Wow, it's amazing. I want to thank Robert with Burlington English again for your support. Without Burlington English's support, we wouldn't be able to offer these webinars and this content to the field. So it's very much appreciated. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. And I hope everybody has a great day and a great rest of the week. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Coed.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share. Have a great day, everyone.